Today we're talking about education. How do we make it worthwhile for students to attend college? Should students be educated specifically for their field or in a more well-rounded way? Our guests are Luann Kahn, the Director of Career Services at Temple University's School of Media and Communication, and Corinne Snell, the Assistant Dean for Student Professional Development at Temple University's Fox School of Business. I'm Chris ABRUZZO. Let's get on point. Hello and welcome to On Point, a show that digs deeper into the issues that you care about and asks the tough questions. I'm your host, Chris ABRUZZO. Today on the show, we're discussing one of the most relevant topics to any college student, their education. It has been an ongoing debate over the best way to prepare students for the real world. Some believe in a well-rounded education, while others favor a more specialized approach. To lead the discussion today, we have Luann Kahn, the Director of Career Services at Temple University School of Media and Communication and former reporter for NBC 10, and Dr. Corinne Snell, the Assistant Dean for Student Professional Development at Temple University's Fox School of Business. Thank you for being here. Let's begin the debate. Now, everything has its upsides and downsides, and let's take college for instance. Many people can find the pros and cons in attending college. One obstacle that students face when coming to college is affording the education, specifically student debt. Between 2003 and 2012, the number of 25-year-olds with student debt increased from 25% to 43%, with an average loan balance of $20,000 in 2012. Luann, I will start with you. Have colleges and universities done enough, if anything at all, to reduce the student debt for their students?
To reduce the student debt, well, I know just there's a discussion in Harrisburg this week about keeping tuition down, and I know it's of great concern for so many students wondering, how am I going to pay off this debt? But there is no doubt in my mind that it's worth it, because I can't think of a single employer that I'm dealing with right now who doesn't want to see a college degree. And that is just the start. So, you know, whether you have to work through, get loans, whatever you have to do, I believe that it is absolutely worth it. Without it, you are worth less in the marketplace.
Now, would you say today's economic conditions play a serious role in how many students need that financial aid and how much of them fall into student debt?
Oh, listen, there are more students, and probably Corinne can speak more to this, but I'm sure there are more students in debt than ever before. But honestly, I think that is part of the reason why I've been brought on to the School of Media and Communications, because we realize too, if students have this debt, we must start with students at the very beginning talking about preparing for careers. And so in the past, where maybe talking about jobs or careers just wasn't done, now we know, listen, not only do you have to get that degree, but you've got to be prepared for that career path, and we're not going to wait until you're a junior or senior. We now have to put it up there with education so that you can pay off your loans.
Corinne, what do you think about this situation?
I absolutely agree. Because of the economic impact of getting a college education, college and university career centers are being looked at a lot more closely. And how are they preparing students for life after graduation? I mean, the education is important, but what is going to be the ROI, or the return on that investment? So from an accountability standpoint, that is one thing that legislators and government officials are taking a closer look at what we are doing in the education side to prepare our students for those careers, so that they can start earning a salary after they graduate and start paying off those student loans.
But Chris, we know, I mean, when parents are coming in with students, when they're checking out universities, now they're asking questions. What are you doing right now for students to make sure there's going to be a job there, there's going to be a career there? And in the past, I think it wasn't always the sense of the university that should be part of what's going on. But I think that is how economics has impacted this. It must be part of the mission.
Now, both of you hinted at the past and how colleges and universities have approached this situation. I just want to know, how is it different getting a job now right out of college than it was 10 or say 20 years ago?
I would say the biggest difference is the way the student has to go about the job search. Before, I mean, it was a little bit more antiquated, you know, going on a company website, and in some cases still using the paper copies of the resume, you know, going on to job boards, you know, Monster, things like that. Right now, social media is having such an impact on this. Companies have Facebook pages and Twitters and blogs, and students need to tap into that in order to you know, kind of get on board and find out what are the opportunities that are out there. So just simply loading your resume into a database or applying to jobs online, those days are kind of gone. I mean, that is still part of the job search process, but there's a lot more involved with the social media and just having that presence. That's one of the things we talk to students a lot about is digital dirt. And just because companies Google you, they look you up. You know, you might not realize that the reason you didn't get that internship offer is because of something they saw online, but it can be very problematic. So that's one of the things that has made the job search very different nowadays.
Now, Luann, is media and communication and journalism and those fields, are they a little bit different than business when students go out and apply for jobs or internships?
I think in some, well, first of all, you're talking about, you know, I think the difference is there are a lot of companies, you know, in the business school is dealing with, they know what their job needs are. They're constantly looking. In the media world, they're overrun with people who want these jobs. There's intense competition. And so they don't necessarily have to go searching at universities for people. They have people knocking down their doors. And that means that communication students have to be even more prepared. It used to be, well, you graduate, you have a degree, and you go find a job. That was, okay, decades ago probably. And now they want to know, what can you do? Mm-hmm. Especially in the field of communication. What can you do? What are your skills? Because there's no on-the-job training as much. You know, my first job, like, they basically trained us, mm-hmm. you know, to be a reporter. Now they almost want you to be a reporter before you graduate, and they want to see your experience.
Now, earlier we spoke with Bill Newman, a Temple economics professor, who shared his thoughts on the subject. Let's take a look.
The difference in the net present value, that is how much more you can earn over a lifetime in current dollars, is somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000 for a college degree versus high school degree. How much would you make in those 4 years you went to school? And then how much you're going to make the rest of your career. So they're included. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at the college degree, it's okay, you didn't make that, so you're going to start so many years later, and you also put money into college perhaps. So you lost two things. You lost the money you could have made plus the money you paid for college, assuming you're paying for it yourself. It looks like on average, yes, you benefit from a college degree. But so why do you move up? Well, you're competing against fewer people. So the supply has gone down. And when you increase your skills, your professional abilities get better. So that requires a higher pay for skills. But again, that's just average. Every individual has different abilities, right? Some are good at this, some are not so good at that. Math versus other stuff, you know how some people hate math, okay? Then some people work harder than other people. Where do you go to school? Some schools are better than other schools. What are you going to major in? Okay, and then you're going to choose an occupation. So they're all contributing to different numbers for these people. But it gets back to, I would say, for the individual, the hard work, because that can overcome a lot of things.
Now, after watching that clip, one thing that really stood out to me was Professor Newman mentioned the competition that a lot of students face when they get out of college, and now that that's sped up, more people are relying on those college degrees, more people see the value in a college degree. Has that affected the job market? What do you think about that, Corinne?
I mean, I think it's, as Luann said before, the college degree, it's almost an expectation now for professional level positions. So I think, you know, there's still competition for those roles, and especially because of the economy, and especially like since 2008 when things kind of went a little bit downhill. Despite that, in the business school, over the Fox School, we did see employers were still coming to campus to recruit. You know, parents, you know, were saying like, oh, I guess, you know, companies aren't coming. No, they were actually still coming to campus. Maybe they weren't hiring as many students. Maybe they would hire 4 dozen accountants in 1 year. Well, maybe they were hiring 2 dozen during that downtime. But I mean, the economy does factor into that. So I do think, I mean, there is still going to be competition for that pool of jobs. And then, as you know, he had said, just going higher up the ladder. But I think it's an important part.
Now, would you say it's cyclical? Will we see this return back to maybe students won't have that struggle or not nearly as much of the struggle?
It can be. It really depends on the economy. There was a time when I was on the corporate side in human resources doing college recruiting. There was a time when I could not make offers fast enough. And I was working for a technology firm, and we were actually hiring liberal arts majors with the willingness and the intent that we would train them in the technology. Wow. Because we couldn't get candidates fast enough. That was before 2008. Then things dramatically changed. So it really has a lot to do with the economy. There are times when it's a buyer's market and employers can be very selective where they recruit, and then there are other times when they're looking, to get as many candidates as they can, and it's tough.
Right, but the one thing was it Dr. Newman?
Professor Newman.
Professor Newman. One thing he said is, he mentioned how hard will that person work, and when I talk to employers now, if they have limited positions, they don't want to make a mistake, and they want to see on that resume, you're a worker, you're persistent. That may be as important as anything else in getting that job, that you got the degree and all the other things that you did, the whole picture.
Absolutely. Employers are looking for well-rounded. I said if they have a choice of two candidates, one with a nice resume with a 3.99 GPA, but then another candidate who maybe has a 3.0 GPA but was involved in a student organization, involved in clubs, did one, maybe two internships. Which candidate is going to outshine the other one? And it's going to be the student who's more well-rounded, because they want to see that this person is a hard worker. They've taken on these challenges, not just simply focused on academics.
Okay, 20 seconds left. Let me just get your last few words. College degree, value or devalued due to the recession?
It's still valued. It's an absolute necessity, absolutely.
No choice. You have to get a college degree. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's worth whatever you have to do to get it.
Okay. Well, so far I'd say we've been on point. We are going to take a short break, and when we get back, we will continue the discussion on college education. We'll be right back.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
Welcome back to On Point. I'm joined by Corrine Snell and Luann Kahn. Continuing our discussions on college education, Temple University requires all undergraduate students to take a few courses as part of the general education or gen ed curriculum. A lot of students find this to be tedious, making classes they may not be so interested in taking. What do gen ed courses add to the experience of students? Many students would say they are not necessary. What do you guys think? Luann?
Well, I think if they're a part of core education, and I'm believing that they are important. I think, unfortunately, you know, I have met people in my former profession as a reporter who didn't get basic core information, knowledge, writing skills. There's a gap, and even if, let's say, they're very good on camera, but they don't know history or just, you know, basic information that I believe that you're getting in these courses, they're not as well-rounded. I believe you have to have it. I don't know, what do you think?
I absolutely agree. One of the things these courses offer are the ability, like you said, to develop your written communication skills. No matter what field you go into, that is so, so important to have those strong communication skills. But things like analytical skills, critical thinking skills, abstract reasoning, research, that is what students can take away from these courses. So they need to focus on the skill sets that they're developing from those courses. Maybe the topic itself isn't something that excites them, but there is a method to the madness, as they say, with taking these types of courses. And those types of skills that I mentioned, those are some of the things that employers are looking for, no matter what the major is.
Now, I think it's important to note here at Temple University, some gen eds that you may be required to take include 1 art gen ed, 1 race and diversity gen ed, 2 science and technology gen eds. And those, Temple does open that up to many classes to be taken in those gen ed curriculum. You're not just limited to maybe a chemistry and a physics and you have to choose between the 2. They do offer a lot, so I'd like to get that out there. But as a journalism major myself, I can say that maybe science isn't one of my strongest suits, but is that, with all the frustration that Temple students may have to encounter, what's your advice to that?
I think it's just having that knowledge, that information. I mean, you may end up someday interviewing someone who's in a science and technology field, and just, again, having exposure, that just general understanding, I think is going to be helpful. Yeah, you might not specialize in that ever, you know, at any point in your life, but just having that general understanding of that field, I think, is helpful.
Or you would think, okay, why is this art history class important? But that information, that knowledge is, again, what I consider part of core knowledge. And as a communicator, reporter, you should have that. You should have that in your, in your brain, not have to Google it. There's a certain amount of basic information that will make you better at what you do.
Now, this is interesting to see what our guests had to say. We took some opinions out on campus, and let's hear what the kids on campus have to say here at Temple University.
I'm here on LIACOURAS Walk asking Temple students their opinions about gen eds and how they contribute to their preparation for the real world.
Gen eds are super cool in a sense. I've taken some really cool classes like American military culture, which I really enjoyed. But it's when you break it down and you realize you're paying $2,000 per gen ed, it kind of gets it makes me feel nauseous.
I think they're necessary, I guess. I think that maybe there are too many.
And I don't think that they're a waste of time at all or a nuisance. I think that they are really important, especially the English and Mosaic, in developing writing skills and just, you know, forming more of a well-rounded education in general.
I think you need a somewhat well-rounded, but I think that the amount of gen eds that we have is a little ridiculous. Like, I think we should have like 2 or 3, not the amount that we have.
Honestly, I don't think they're needed. Like, they're not going to help me in my future. I mean, it's good. It's like, it gives us facts and information about history and all these other things, but like a lot of what I've learned in these gen eds, I've learned in high school and even before high school, and I've learned from reading other books.
You need to take gen eds to be able to have a more broader perspective on life and the way the world works. I think they're very important.
At first, my freshman and sophomore year, I thought they were a waste of time. However, it wasn't until this year that I started realizing that these gen eds are supposed to like open your mind.
I don't think they're as worth the time and energy spent on them as major classes.
I think it depends on the person. I mean, I'm taking them pretty much just because I have to. But I feel like they could really help you, but I mean, for me as an athlete, I think I'm just trying to do the easiest classes because I have commitments elsewhere.
We've heard what Temple students have to say. I'm Shannon Hurley, on point.
So what really is the best way to prepare students for the real world? Luann?
Well, I think it really is a combination of great education, core knowledge, plus hands-on skills, at least in the communication field. I think you have to have a good balance of both. You have to be, I think, become a good thinker, a good writer, a good communicator, and you have to, these days, you have to practice what you learn in the classroom before you go off into the real world.
Corinne?
For us in the Fox School, it's a combination of academics and professional development. I mean, I'm part of an actual center dedicated to professional development. And we see it as it's the combination of the two that's going to make the students successful. We actually have a professional development model that we created to help students, parents, faculty, and staff understand what do we mean by professional development. And it's personal development, students taking a look at where you're at now, where you want to be when you graduate, and what do you strategically need to do in order to get there. The second thing is career and industry awareness. There's so many opportunities available out there. Students really need to learn about the different career options, the different industries that they might possibly consider working in, and then start being proactive, you know, looking at, well, do I need to get internships within that industry? And then the third piece of our model is impression management. You manage the impression you give to others, quite simply. So that could be everything from dress for success, to dining etiquette, to polish, professionalism, your social media presence on LinkedIn, all that is rolled into one. So those three components make up our model. But I think it's really having a strong professional development component with the academics that makes students successful.
Now, could you get a little more into that? Like, what does the Fox School of Business do specifically? Some examples of how they prepare their students for the real world.
Professional development is actually integrated into the curriculum at the Fox School. All of our students have to take a mandatory 1-credit professional development course before they graduate. I actually used to work in the University Career Center many years ago. And now that I'm in the Fox School and I see having this mandatory, this academic course, this credit-bearing course that students have to take, students can't escape us. But then they begin to realize how important this professional development is. You know, some of those things that I talked about. I mean, it is everything from resumes and interviewing, but again, polish, professionalism, business etiquette, dining etiquette, you know, ethics of the job search, those soft skills, those leadership skills. Students really see how important that is. And you know, they realize the academic piece is an important part of the education, but seeing how the professional development nicely complements that makes a big difference. So having that mandatory 1-credit course, having a center actually dedicated to professional development, we have a staff of 10 people, it really shows you know, how important it is, you know, to the administration at the Fox School.
Now, Luann, how does the School of Media and Communication compare? Do they?
Well, we just started. We're the babies. It's me. The Career Development Center is me right now, but I'm the beginning. I'm the first person who's been in this role. But I think the Fox School does an excellent job, and I think it's a very good example of what can be done and what some other schools are doing. You know, again, I think it's that this is the future. This is the way we have to go. That said, you know, as much as we can do to prepare someone for the work world and get them ready in their appearance and their resume, and there must be some there. And that's what the academics and, you know, the classwork and the gen eds are about.
Now, do all of the schools, such as School of Media and Communication, Fox School of Business, College of Science, Technology, and Liberal Arts, do they all collaborate? Do they meet throughout the year and discuss some ways, and or what's that relationship like?
I've been a part of a career services networking group over the years because a lot of the, some of the employers that we work with, you know, they're very interested in hiring business majors, but there are some employers who would consider hiring outside of the business school, so that's when we do collaborate. You know, for example, I recently sent an internship to Luann. You know, they're looking for an HR or a communication major. So we connected on that. Sometimes we have employers who are looking for our MIS or Management Information Science majors, but they would say, oh, well, we would be interested in computer science. I pick up the phone and I call my contact over there. So that is because what we're trying to do is make sure we keep the employers happy. Quite honestly, employers can go anywhere to recruit. I want them to keep coming here to Temple, keep coming to the Fox School. So if they have a need that's outside of the School of Business, I work with them to make those connections to keep the employers happy.
Excellent. Now, could you tell our viewers what's the easiest way to get in touch with you if they have any more questions about this topic, Corinne?
They can call the center at 215-204-2371, or my email is csnell@temple.edu.
And my email is luanncon@temple.edu. And you can also go to our website now, the SMC website, the Career Center, and see information about getting an appointment and seeing all the latest jobs and internships.
Well, excellent. That's all the time we have for today's edition of On Point. We want to thank you for being a part of this special first episode of On Point. At the start of the beginning of this project, we weren't sure of the name of the show, what it would be. But now that we got a sense for it and we started planning and writing the scripts for this, what we knew about the show was that we wanted to hear different perspectives and get the answers to the questions that are most important to you. I guess you could say we like to get right to the point. On Point. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.